Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everyone. Episode 255, Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. I am excited for this Friday night. It is nice and warm here in Michigan, which means it's about 60. So with that in mind, I am drinking a alt beer here from WeldWorks, compliments of our previous guest, WeldWorks. Go and listen to that episode. This beer is so amazing, and I'm so happy I was able to get it. But I want to know what you guys are drinking, starting with Rob. Rob, what are you drinking?
Right now, I've started off with my usual stout, getting a Sweet Baby Jesus, and staying local with some Norden Aquavit. So figured get some liquor going on.
I think I still got some Aquavit here. Wendy, what are you drinking?
I have the best sister in the entire world, and she went on vacation to Kentucky last week and brought me back Listerman's Brewing beer. So I am drinking a collaboration between Listerman and Pontoon, their Atlanta Banana Pancake Cabana. It's amazing. I love it.
That's a lot of words, but we also have had, I believe we've had Listerman on this show too, another great interview. Nick, what are you drinking? I assume you're double fisting beer.
When am I not? Come on. Thanks, Daniel.
Well, last week you were double fisting liquor. So.
I was last week was liquor, but this time it's beer. So we're back to beer now. Cracked open one of the two that I have, the Ghost in the Machine from Parish Brewing and the Modern Times Coffee Stout. This is my last one.
Two more previous guests. You guys are doing your part and supporting the people who support us. Dan, what are you drinking?
As usual, I got the vodka soda going on to start.
Vodka soda to start. Well, we do have a guest here who is well renowned for the entire alcohol industry as a, I would say, professional drinker. But Zane Lamprey, how you doing today?
I would say professional drinker is a very apt title. You know, it's one of those things where if I'm sitting next to someone on a flight and they don't know who I am and they say, "What do you do?" And this is like a good problem. The good problem is that anything I say could be interesting and be followed by another question, and it could turn into a podcast in the air that's not being recorded. So, you know, sometimes I'll just say I'm an accountant because sometimes I am. But I think generally speaking, professional drinker is a very apt title, considering I've gotten paid to drink in 72 countries across the globe.
Now, before we get a little bit further, for those who have not listened or know who you may be, what are some shows that you've been on, some shows that you've produced and host? Like, ramble off a few that they may be able to look on YouTube maybe to find.
I would say probably my crowning moment was when I was on the Better on Draft podcast. That was really the apex of my career. And when I knew I was doing the right thing. Like I was doing good stuff. You know what I mean?
You made it.
Yeah, I made it. Like you know, you ever think about like that guy at the gym? He's working out so hard, and at some point he's like, done, and then he never works out again because he hit his peak. Like that's where I am right now. Aside from that, my journey to get here, the road to here, was paved with an international drinking show called Three Sheets, where I traveled around the world, learning about local cultures and customs by drinking with them. I then went on to do a show called Drinking Made Easy on Mark Cuban's HDNet. I did 4 seasons of that. I then did a show, international drinking show called Chug, where at some point I traveled by train in the episode. It was just to give a fun title to the show. So that was on National Geographic Channel. And then I did a show called Four Sheets, which was on a short-lived network called Drink TV. However, if anyone wants to go to drinktv.com, you can go and watch episodes of Four Sheets for free. Just click on ad supported, and I don't know if there's any actual ads there. And then we did a behind the scenes sort of round table, kind of like they do on like Deadliest Catch for Four Sheets, which was called Between the Sheets. which was hosted by a friend of mine, Steve McKenna, who is usually the drunk and rowdy one. Instead, we made him the host, and then we were the drunk and rowdy one. So it's funny because go and watch Four Sheets at drinktv.com if you haven't. Like I said, it's free. I promise it's not a waste of time. And then go and watch Between the Sheets to get a good perspective on what it's like to actually shoot these shows.
Now, I want to bring that in because you mentioned that people can see it. There's actually episodes of Three Sheets that people can find on your YouTube page, which you kind of cut in and out, and you do some commentary, as you say, DVD commentary, but DVD is dead, which is fair. How did this come about?
By the way, I will get about one inquiry a week still asking me when like season 4 or season 3 of Drinking It Easy is going to be on DVD. And I was like, what? Are we still having these conversations? Who's doing that? Like, first of all, they're on iTunes. They're on YouTube. Like, why do you want these on DVD? But by the way, you never asked me what I was drinking.
Oh, but what are you I assumed it was a Maui Brewing beer or a monkey rum or a Kuma liqueur. So I just kind of assumed. But what are you drinking, Zane?
Those are all good assumptions. So I'm doing a stand-up comedy tour this summer. I'm going to 90 breweries across the country doing my stand-up at breweries, which is really amazing. I've done theaters, big theaters, small theaters across the country. Now it's like an amazing time because there's so many breweries. I have so many friends at different breweries, and it's an amazing community that I consider myself part of. So I'm going and doing my stand-up at breweries. If anyone wants tickets to that, by the way, go to zanelamprey.com. There are tickets still for sale. Shows are selling out because they're pretty small shows, 200 to 300 people. But in every brewery, we are doing a collaboration beer, and most of the time, proceeds will go to a local animal rescue. So this is not a place that I'm doing a show because the venue wasn't quite big enough. I mean, the brewery is, but not a venue as far as performance. But this is from Full Tilt Brewing in Baltimore, and this is called Snowcat. And Snowcat is one of our rescues. This is Quincy, and then it's sponsored by in collaboration with my Adventure Apparel brand. And then proceeds go to Barks, which is a local animal rescue in Baltimore. And this is a dry hopped pilsner.
Awesome. And so you mentioned that you are doing a show, you're doing a tour, and it is 2021. We're still coming out of the COVID pandemic.
Some of us are. Michigan, I think, is going into it, so I don't know how that's working.
Yeah, Michigan is definitely hitting its 5th or 6th wave for sure. My question to you is pretty simple, just because it is a touchy subject, but I think one where you have the right answer. But are you worried that you might get some flack back from doing these live shows at the breweries? How are you?
We're starting them off COVID safe. So, for example, Utapils in Minneapolis. The tickets are capped at 160. When we are able to open that up, we'll probably open up another 100 tickets, maybe 260. So we're being smart and safe, but the breweries need the business, and the promotion, the attention that they get is great. So as long as people are being safe, wearing masks, and following whatever protocol is in place. I'm vaccinated. I have both vaccines. I believe in them.
Both Pfizer and Moderna. You got all 4 shots.
I've gotten all of the vaccines 3 times. I'm not going to catch anything, or it gave it to me, or I'll turn into a zombie before the rest of you guys. But we're being safe. Everyone in my crew, my team is vaccinated. We'll still be wearing masks, doing everything, but we can go out there, be distanced, have a great time, enjoy some great beer, support local breweries, support local communities, and just get out there and laugh. I mean, those are I don't know how many things I just listed, but those are all things that we could all use right now.
100% for sure. Now, you mentioned that you you are doing this. There was pet charity. Now I was going through the internet as one person would, and I saw you were a model for a pet rescue company called the Pumpkin Patch Pet Rescue. How
You
did
saw
you
that I was a model?
how did you become? I see you as the only human in a lot of these photos on Instagram, so I assume you're just the model for this company.
Well,
And totally not
yeah.
leading you into this question, but why don't you talk to us about the Pumpkin Patch Pet Rescue, how that became, and obviously you've shown some of these pets on your YouTube page, but talk to us a
Yeah.
little bit about it.
Well, yeah. So Pumpkin Patch Pet Rescue is my wife's nonprofit pet rescue. So and the first cat or pet, that we fostered was named Pumpkin, and he's still around here someplace. So at present, I'm going to say it's possible that there's 14 animals in my house. Don't quote me, because there might be less, there might be more. We work with a lot of great rescues, but my wife felt it was best for her to set up, a nonprofit so that she could make sure that she can help as many animals as possible. It's really, for us, I use the expression "nothing worse," but there's obviously a lot of worse things. But it really sucks to see an animal at a kill shelter that its days are limited and there's nothing you can do about it. So we always will step in and go and pull those animals and bring them into the rescue and try to place them and that kind of thing. So it's, this year we've done just as many dogs as we have cats. I think maybe this year, maybe we've done 20 dogs or so, maybe more. Dogs poop a lot more than cats. Yeah.
And all over.
What's that?
And all over.
They poop a lot and on themselves, especially puppies. How about right here? And would you mind if I stepped in it? No, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, it's something that's really dear to us, and so yeah, that's what Pumpkin Patch Pet Rescue is.
Nice. So I've noticed with kind of messing around, and obviously as Ken has been talking about it, going around the internet, that I was messing around with Drink TV, which still has some exposure that's out there. I know that there's some people who can get onto that through things like Roku, Apple TV. I've been watching on the internet.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I had one of the things that I had read about, one of the comments was from co-founder Jared Cotton, where he had mentioned that food culture is celebrated much more than drink culture is, and that it's pretty hard to sell, the ideas behind, a show about alcohol, and that we don't see it as much out there. It's like, obviously you've had your show on Travel Channel, Mark Cuban's channel. The Three Sheets shows up on Drink TV. But is there something more that can be done that can make drink culture programming a bigger thing than where it is now?
That's a really good question, and that's something we discuss probably daily. And Jared, one of the founders of Drink TV, an awesome guy, and we definitely always have these discussions because, it's kind of a rabbit hole, because people can point the finger at alcohol and make claims. Some of them, of course, justified, but it's not to say that food is all innocent. But it's a lot easier for people to just wrap their head around food because there's not the inebriation that's associated with it. I mean, even companies that big beer and, kind of companies and even spirits, they'll sponsor a lot of athletic events and athletic programs. But, you ask them if they want to do a drink program. They're like, well, hold on a second, slow down. We don't know what if you overindulge, and what if you do this? And I can say, well, I've done, 170 episodes of TV, and you can watch any of them and see how we handle it. But, time is going to happen, and some people are going to blaze the way. It's like, we'll go out and talk to a network about the show, and they'll watch it and they're like, oh, this show just was great. Like Four Sheets, for example, after we made that show for Drink TV, the rights reverted back to my production company. And so we've brought it around town and showed networks, and they're like, well, we don't know about drink shows, whatever. And it's every reason you can imagine. It's every reason that you know. There's no like secret to it, but it's just, it's funny. I'd say especially in the U.S., right, where we're a little bit more, we're so like restrictive on it. The drinking age is 21, and all these sort of rules with a 3-tier distribution system and all that kind of stuff. But the crazy thing about it is, we tried to sell Four Sheets in France and Germany, and they don't allow drink programs at all, except I think for like after hours or something. But here's the thing: we're not getting drunk; we're learning about drinking. It's like they for some reason have a hard time drawing the line and the delineation between the two.
All right. It's culture. Ken, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I kind of want to go through, because over the past, and I will say over the past 2 years, as much as I believe COVID has hit us and we've definitely grown more drinking from home and experimenting more from home, but I feel like the drinking culture within the United States, from say back when you were doing Three Sheets and Drinking Made Easy, back when Dave Attell was doing Insomniac, like the culture around drinking has changed drastically, I believe, in the United States. And you're a little bit more well versed, because obviously you do a lot of travel, but I feel like we are a little bit more in tune with what the ABV is for drinks that we have, what what our tolerance is so we're not driving drunk, what our ability is to not get completely wasted. Do you think that maybe is the change within the United States of like, why it might be hard to sell a drinking show in 2021?
Well, it is all a trend, right? It's the ebb and the flow of the whole thing. I would say 20 years ago, we were very much behind in anything to do with drinking, possibly with the exception of wine sort of having that breakout. But beer and spirits, for sure, we were behind. Now we've picked it up and we've run with it. Like, people would bartend, think about it, 20 years ago as a temporary job or something that they fell into. It wasn't like something that they necessarily had a lot of pride in. Now that all switched where, everybody knows a brewer, everybody knows or has a local craft brewery, craft cocktails, craft mixology, craft spirits. Those are all things, and people are making very good livings and very proud of being bartenders and mixologists nowadays. So it's definitely like this transition period where now the U.S. is actually a major trendsetter in beer. It absolutely were not 20 years ago, and in spirits, absolutely were not 20 years ago. So I think maybe in another 20 years, we'll find the balance where we can have some shows. I mean, there have been some shows about like mixology and even beer where it's a little too informational and it just becomes not interesting. And one of the things we always made sure to do was find the fun in anything we do, any of the programs, any of the scenes that we did. Not to the point where we were trying to go to excess, but like it's okay to like laugh a little bit and be silly as you're learning about it, and you can hit the bullet points. You don't need to get into the inside baseball about fermentation times and the gravity, the weights of all the certain like specifics of everything. So I definitely think that this is the transition. You guys are part of it. Like what you guys are doing, I don't think there would have been any interest in it 20 years ago, and now it's like people are tuning in and they want to learn about it.
I believe the ability to talk about alcohol, there are a lot of different avenues. when you have a show like, because your show you talk about, and it's kind of a belief that we've had previous to even watching your show, is we want to talk to people as if I ran into you at a bar, Zane, and I just struck up a conversation and there is a microphone between us.
Yeah.
That's how I believe this show to be. And we saw a lot of over the topness from shows like Insomniac, from shows like Dark Horse had their own brewery TV show. I believe Dogfish had their own TV show. And I think there was a lot of over the top marketing, but we've seen this pullback, I believe, in regards to alcohol. I've seen this pullback of people not drinking that much, and you talked about it, craft cocktail bars, craft distilleries, everyone, and when you talk about breweries too, we used to see breweries like the Brewery and the local ones like Dark Horse, Griffin Claw, have these giant ass beers, 20% beers. Nobody really wants that anymore, and I want to bring it down because I feel like we are getting into a stage where, one, we're caring more about the calories that we take in and the feeling that we are, and bringing in your partner Steve McKenna, who is I would assume sober 2 years now based on the date of the last time he mentioned it and where we are now. The prevalence of sober October and dry January. Where do you see the market changing with all of these things? Because I was careless in the early 2000s. I believe I was, I hung out with Dan, and Dan was a bad influence.
Yep.
Where do you see the trend of alcohol drinking in America? Let's say for the next 5 years, and where do you see yourself in that producing content?
I mean, look, again, just going back 20, 30 years, there was no conversation to be had about the beer you were having. You were having, Bud, Miller, Coors, XYZ, it doesn't matter. There was no conversation about it. People just had their preference. And it's the same with spirits. There was a time where the Cosmopolitan was like the new drink. Like, wow, if someone invented this amazing drink, it was the Cosmo. And so that was like, the beginning of people starting to break out of their traditional, cocktails and their traditional drinks. I just think that it's there's a lot more to talk about, and there's a lot more information out there. And we also, remember, we're also at an information age where we have access to a lot more information and we can learn about things very easily. Whereas again, 20, 30 years ago, if you didn't know, you couldn't really learn about it. You were sort of at the whim of whatever the bartender could tell you. But the other thing you have to keep in mind with food shows versus drinking shows is that, for the most part, food has an almost unlimited amount of ingredients, from textures and colors and consistencies and all kinds of things. Whereas drinks, for the most part, if we all poured our drinks in the same glass and held them up, you wouldn't really know what we were doing, because it's just colored liquid. So that's why you really need to find the entertainment value in what we did, learning about the people by having a drink with them, learning about the cultures by having a drink with them, learning about why each country has their national spirit or their national beer or their trends or that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily all of the fault of the alcohol in it. It's that at the end of the day, it's just colored liquid, especially with beer. It's like you can sit here and talk about it, but I can't taste it and I can't see what you're talking about. But if you have, an elaborately made food dish, you can kind of see what it is that they're talking about. You can almost taste it before they describe it. Whereas a drink, unless there's all kinds of garnishes and foams and smokes and stuff like that, you really can't get an idea of what's going on unless the person describes it, which, let's be honest, that's not that fun. You wouldn't want to just sit there and listen to someone describe different kinds of beer. You'd be like, okay, can I have one?
Right. So I did have another question, kind of going into like really a lot of all of that. But obviously, with the ambassador of craft beer and spirits and these liquids that you are, that recently you were the recipient of a Crushie, which I guess is the affectionate name of the Craft Beer Marketing Awards. You're in the room where you're doing your podcast. I know you've got that in the area. There it is.
Now, for those of you listening to the podcast, you of course can check out the video on youtube.com/betterondraft, twitch.tv/bod podcast, facebook.com/betterondraft, and of course he's posing with it right now and thanking all of us. So I will I'll point down to him because on my screen is what everyone see, and I'll say good job to you. But go on, Rob.
But 2020 Man of the Year. So definitely congrats on that. And I guess winning something like that, I'd imagine, obviously it's got to come with a great sense of accomplishment. But I guess the question that I have is that in everything that you've done so far, what is it that you personally feel you can do more of in terms of marketing and promoting craft beer?
I don't know what you're talking about. I have the award. What else do I have to do? What have I not done? Hey, it's your turn, man. You got it. Thank you. Here you go. Take it.
I'll take it.
You know, the whole thing. By the way, could there be a worse year to get Craft Beer Man of the Year than 2020? like the year where more craft breweries like went under than any other year in the previous, but. You know, whatever. I mean,
we did have a net positive in openings though, so breweries.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, good. Okay. Well,
I don't want to discredit the breweries that closed, but still, we are still opening up breweries day after day.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to feel like, you know, Scorsese finally getting Best Director for Departed, which was his worst movie he did. But they felt like he owed it to him.
Yes. Yeah. Why is that? What you're saying is happening here?
Oh no, not at all. You're throwing 2020 under the bus, and rightfully so, because 2020 needs to be under the bus.
You know, look, what is there left to do? Well, look, I could have gone out and done my tour at theaters, but I am like let's just look for a second at what I'm doing with this stand-up tour. I'm going and visiting 90 breweries across the country where I get to go up on stage and tell some of my favorite stories, have a drink with people, enjoy this collaboration beer we're having, meet or catch up with the brewers or the people at the brewery, and just kind of spread goodwill across the country. I mean, I think that is the next chapter. The question is what's in store for next year, 2022. I think it's the same thing. In fact, we're talking about taking the tour to Australia and the UK in early 2022, and then coming back and doing the US tour. So look, here's the thing. You know, we did every time I go and do a TV show, I am at the whim of a network executive or someone who can pull the plug at any point, and at some point does. Sometimes the plug is pulled on the network itself, and it's not really the network's fault that it goes under, but it goes under. So I was like, look, I'm going to do a tour. I can go out there, have some fun, have some laughs, entertain people like I love to do. And the only thing that can get in my way and stop my tour is God, which is what he did in 2020, because that's when the tour was supposed to happen. So, you know, now it's like, okay, didn't mean to tempt you, you know, easy, easy lady. So now we get to go out there and do it in 2021 and hopefully 2022, and just keep doing it and growing this this tour of celebrating this place that we are in culture and craft beer culture and community. You know, we used to have these things, I'm sure you guys know this, but like there used to be what's called like a public house, right? And that started in Europe and then did come over in the US and kind of faded away, in the 1800s. But we had a public house, and that was where you would go and you get your mail, and you'd go and get a job, and they would sometimes be the courthouse and everything that, anything that could be worked out, we worked out there. That was a public house, which then became known as a pub. And so that's why we go to pubs. And we kind of lost pubs. We lost that for a while. Probably, I'd say that was the intention of the prohibition, was to shut down pubs, and so call that 1920, and then when 1930 rolls around, and it really wasn't, they weren't pubs anymore, they were just kind of like, there was enough time that 13 years went by where the culture was kind of lost, and we didn't really regain that. But now that's what these breweries are. You have these local breweries, and you go there and you have a beer. And I think, like you're saying, Ken, they don't have to be these super strong beers anymore. Now they're just like, go there and have a session beer and hang out with your friends and catch up and whatever. And I think that is the trend that's happening. We missed that community and a place that you could just go. You didn't have to go find an Irish pub or a dive bar or anything like that, which, by the way, are still great. But then we were kind of reminded in 2020 of how much we missed those breweries and that community. And now we're all getting a chance to get it back. And so I think that's where we are. And I'd like to think that that's more of that is where we're heading, which your data suggests that.
All right, well, I'm sold. Back-to-back 2021 Man of the Year. I think
I'll take that. Write it in.
You're sold. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Nick. He's got a couple questions here.
Let's go back to your comedy show, the comedy tour that you're going to be doing here very, very soon.
When you said comedy, why'd you make air quotes?
It's been a long day, dude.
Comedy show. Because, let's be honest, no one's seen it yet.
Well, as long as it's not like Charlie Sheen where he just rants for 2 hours on stage.
Oh, we don't know that.
Well, just
I mean, the last podcast, you said Steve was just you're gonna write Steve's material. You're just gonna walk up there. So.
Yeah.
So in your last podcast, you had mentioned that to do a 1 hour set, that it takes you about a year to do a 1 hour set?
To write a 1 hour set? Absolutely. Yeah.
So what can you walk us through that process? Like, how does one who's going to do a 1 hour comedy stand-up set go through the process over the course of a whole year to get ready for something like that? Because the reason why I ask is because Ken knows my uncle Ed, and he did open mic night at the local comedy shop in downtown Royal Oak, which is a suburb of Detroit, probably about 10-15 minutes over at what we call Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. And he just talked about literally shit for about 5-10 minutes, and he actually got laughs. But you're actually taking the time and thinking this out over the course of a year. Walk us through that, especially with the breweries in mind.
I would be more afraid of doing what your uncle did than what I'm doing, because so what I've done is I have I took my best stories, right, and I just make my notes, and I got the Russia machine gun story, and I got the champagne story, and I got the just a bunch of different stories, some about Steve, and I kind of write them out, and they're long, and while prose and written work can kind of ramble on, it has that liberty to do that. Comedy can't. It's got to be like boom boom laugh, boom boom laugh. There's a rhythm to the whole thing where, like Steve Martin says, if you can't be funny, at least be interesting. So the objective is to go interesting, funny. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm trying to have anyone leave there and learn something, although I think that's sort of a byproduct of anything that I do because I'm I'm a nerd and I'm just into things. I like to share like interesting things. So, it's really a matter of kind of writing some of those stories out and then telling them to my wife. And if she walks away in the middle of it, I know that's probably not a great story to tell.
I was gonna actually say, are you testing like your material on like with your crew, with your family? So you're at least testing them on somebody.
Yeah. So that starts this week. So the testing starts this week, and it's not as much testing. I started doing a bit for my wife last night, and she was like laughing, and she was kind of like giving me little. She's like, oh, like da 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 da. I'm like, oh, that's good. Wrote that down. And so, it's really I know that what's in there is strong, but anything can get better. So I will read it with some people who I think are funny. And by the way, not necessarily comedians. If I can get people on board with a story, that's great. But then the whole thing kind of weaves together where it's not like I could go. It's about an hour, and I couldn't go and do like a 10-minute set at a local comedy club. I mean, it would work out okay, but the whole thing kind of has a bunch of callbacks of different spots. And there's ways of breaking up stories and quite frankly whittling stories down. Like I tell the story of how I got the pilot for 3 sheets, and I went to an audition, and the show was called You Should Open a Restaurant. And the premise of the show is that you're such a good chef that your friends submitted you for this show, and then you get on and do it. So I was brought in as the host, and I went and sat down and an interview with the production company, and I'm making them laugh or going back and forth, and they're just like, yeah, I don't think this show is right for you. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, whatever. Kind of like, okay, that's kind of hurtful, but no other. And then they're like, no, you understand? Like, we're looking for the host of this restaurant, like a sous chef, a chef, a waiter, a host. Like, we're looking for someone to seat people, not to like host the whole show. So for me, that joke takes too long to get to. So now I don't do that. I don't do that set like that. I just start off. I'm doing the pilot in Seattle at a Polish social club, and I don't know if they want me to be smart or funny or drink a lot. So I do all of those things, and then in walks this guy. So I talk about the whole ski patrol story. So I kind of like, there's only an hour, so I need to sort of make cuts and figure out what really works best. Although you guys all just laughed at that, so I'm not sure. Maybe I should put it.
Maybe expand it to 2 hours to allow for stories like that. I'm sure the breweries won't care. The
first show I did was at the House of Blues at Disneyland, at downtown Disney in Anaheim, and it was 2 hours. And in my mind, which became a drunken mind, people bought tickets to this show. I want to give them an amazing show. I want to, so I don't want to just do 45 minutes. I want to do an hour and a half, which turned into like, plus some Q&A and this and that. It just, and at the end of the day, it's like my friend who's a comedian, he kind of spelled it out for me. He's like, hey, how long is a movie? Like a comedy, 90 minutes. He's like, millions of dollars go into making a movie and the scenes and the pacing, all that kind of stuff. Like, you don't deserve more time than a movie. You know what I mean? Like, and that's true. So from start until finish, that includes like the opener to me will be under 90 minutes because that's the way that it should be. Now, sometimes they'll go a little bit longer if I'm riffing with the audience or I answer a question, whatever it is. But for the most part, it's got to be tight. It's got to be tight. It's got to be a nice, funny set. And I got to leave people wanting more, right? So I can do it next year and tell some other stories.
Yeah,
I've never heard the way that you've put it so eloquently, because when I go, and for instance, I went and saw prior to COVID, Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob, Reboot. So they showed the movie and then they had a Q&A, and of course Kevin Smith just talks and talks and talks. So you get like 2 questions and an hour and a half Q&A. But when you have a person who is available to talk and is able to tell an amazing story, I think that's why you get such amazing things. Like, I've listened to your shows with Bert Kreischer, and mind you, what you guys buying houses next to you and building compounds doesn't affect me at all in life. Like there's no real story to it, but I'm interested and I'm vested based on the people that you are and how you're talking about it. So I think there's a lot more than just a comedy show. That I feel like when you're telling your stories, you're telling, lifelong adventures that you're having, you're sharing it with people. And I think a lot of people care more about that than just the funny parts. They want to hear about it. Why we have you on the show. We want to hear about the crazy stuff like we talked about on the previous show, like, your craziest cocktails or best hangover cures. So I think there's a little bit mixture the way you present comedy versus, say, a stand-up comedian like a Mitch Hedberg, who would just tell joke, or a Robin Williams who would tell a joke. You tell a story, kind of like a Burt Kreischer, bringing it back full circle, that I think a lot of people pay attention to. Dan, I know you have a question. I know we're kind of wrapping up here, but Dan, what's up?
Yeah, so let's keep it with the crazy stuff. I actually went back and watched a Drinking Made Easy episode today when you were here in Phoenix. And I'm really curious because you had Steve drink a bowl of ranch dropped into a pitcher of beer called a ranch bomb. First off, how did you come up with that? Because that is a genius. I wish I came up with that idea. And
I will tell you. Yeah, go ahead. What's your second part?
Second question is, who besides me on this panel would you want to make drink one of those?
Well, first of all, I would really like to watch all of you. Do you all have those ingredients available? So here's the thing. Steve is a fun guy. Makes him sound like a mushroom. See, and because we were shooting Drinking Middies the first season, and we had a comedy show that night, and we shot the whole episode like during the day, especially in a place like Phoenix. And so what I did was I took Mark Ryan, who is one of my comedian friends, and he went off to do like a distillery or a brewery. And then I sent Steve off to do like a food segment. And then I went off and did like 3 different segments. And I went in to like drop by Steve, who was at this place called Chewy's Mini Bar at a place called Gilligan's. Does that still exist? I think it does, right?
Oh, I'm honestly not sure.
Okay. Well, go find it. It's a place called Gilligan's, which is like a weird place. And Chewy, who's like a little person, has a little bar that's there. And he was having drinks with Steve, and Chewy was really charismatic and funny, but Steve just doesn't have the personality of understanding how to move along an interview and ask questions and listen and respond. He's okay in a normal conversation, but if you turn on the camera, he just becomes inept at it. So when I went in there and he was like asking questions, I'm like, oh my God, Steve, this is not interesting. Like, you need to do something physical. And so he was doing a tater tot challenge, trying to eat like 100 tater tots, which is like whatever. And so, which he was horrible at eating challenges. And so I just took his ranch and dropped it in his pitcher. And I was like, I think I gave him like $100 to do it or something like that. And like, look, at some level, like, we are there to learn about places. And I think when I was explaining Chewy's Mini Bar and Gilligan's, like, I would walk in there and I would sit down and I'd be like, Chewy, like, how did this come to be? Like, was Gilligan's here first? Did you know these guys and that's how you got this bar? And like, what is your vibe? And what I have so many questions for him that Steve just didn't think about. And so at the end of the day, you got to get that information across, and then you also have to make those water cooler moments. And I was like, look, this scene is not interesting, so I got to save it with a ranch bomb. I might have to save this story with a ranch bomb.
Well, if you want to do one, we'll be happy to watch you do it right now.
I'm sure, because you were prepared to ask that question, I'm sure you have your ranch bomb handy.
No, he's drinking liquor tonight, not beer for sure.
Yeah.
I can drop ranch into vodka too.
That would curdle and be disgusting.
That's what was cement mixer. God, thinking about fucking drinks before. Before I became an adult. I mean, I was still an adult at that time, but I'm talking about an adult. Wendy, I know you have a question for him.
Oh my God, I have a million at this point. So you have probably answered this question a million times, but you have managed to making a living out of my two favorite hobbies, which are travel and beer. Well, okay, drinking in general. But I'm just curious, was there like a turning point that like put you on this life path?
I mean, I moved out to LA in 1996, and I was trying to get acting jobs. And the thing is a script is fine, and I can do a script, but the hosting gigs were kind of like coming onto the scene at that point, and a host like was a job that hadn't really been a host before. Like there were game show hosts and sports hosts, but not like shows that had hosts that went off and did things. So I was like, wait a second, this is like really well suited for my personality. And so I did a few smaller gigs, and then I went and did audition for that, You Should Open a Restaurant or whatever it was called. And then I got 3 sheets, and then that was it. So, I mean, I landed 3 sheets, and I did 3 sheets because that was the first real gig that I did. I could have easily been on a car show or a home improvement show, and I would be known as that guy. I'd be known as, either the drunk, construction guy or the guy in the back of an Uber. I don't know. So I got lucky, I really did. And there's not a day of shooting that went by that I took it for granted. I mean, sometimes I was tired and whatever, hungover, but it didn't matter. Like every time, I've never shared this piece of information. Let's see how this comes across. I would always really get that like pinch myself moment, which this is going to be a weird transition, that kind of like, hey, like think about where you are right now. Like you are in Champagne, France, and you're drinking a bottle of Cristal with the owner of this place and laughing and having an amazing time. And when I'm in the moment, right? I'm not thinking about those kind of things. But whenever I would leave to go to the bathroom to take a pee, which is often when you host a drinking show, that's when I would get that like, wow, think about where you are. It would always be the time that would happen. So I'm not going to tell that story again.
It's true though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's the only time that I got
but...
like when it was like quiet and no one was talking to me and I wasn't responsible for anybody. And it was like me by myself for like a minute, where I could just like reflect on where I was, because otherwise I'm expected to be on, and be funny and asking questions or whatever. And so, and when I get back to my hotel room, I would go to sleep. But like usually when I would go to the bathroom to take a pee was like those quick little moments of clarity.
That's awesome. So real quick, I know Ken is trying to wrap it up, but I have to tell you that hiking is like it's pretty much the only physical activity that I actually enjoy. And obviously I'm a fan of beer. So I love that your adventure apparel line incorporates drinking into the active and travel wear.
Yeah.
So I want you to real quick just tell our listeners where they can get it.
Yeah. So, it's probably easy as if people just go to zanelamprey.com, ZaneLamprey, or just Google Zane Lamprey and go to my website. And then at the top, you can go to Adventure. And so Adventure it's on my shirt here. It's my apparel company. And the first E is a 3 because we plant 3 trees with every purchase. And, we're really about exploration and travel as a brand. And we think that destinations, like when you arrive someplace, it's really great to punctuate those with a drink. Sometimes you can have a nice cold drink. Sometimes it's a beer, a cocktail, whatever it is. But that's who I am, and that's who the brand is. And so, after a hike, which I do very often, I love to just grab a beer, especially if I'm someplace and I'm not home. Just go and grab one of the local beers or maybe a local cocktail or something like that and just punctuate. And that's when you sit there and laugh with your friends and talk about it. I got a buddy who has a company. It's called Earn Your Booze. And his is basically that same thing. It's like you did a long hike, you earned it. You know, nothing feels better. The drink doesn't taste better, and you know, than when you have something that you did to sort of get to that moment.
You know, you say that, and if anyone who has listened to the show who listens weekly, I, for a handful of months, was a Earn Your Boozer, who I would make sure to do plenty of workouts before destroying my body with 2,000 plus calories of craft beer, as it is the worst thing. Now, we're closing up. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down
Of course.
and chat with us. Hopefully that beer from Full Tilt is delicious and gone.
That's fantastic.
We have a quick list of questions from the chat. These are don't think too hard about it, just off the top of your head. What is your favorite brewery that you go to?
Wow. Can I list
Probably
90?
a local. Just it could be a
No,
local one that you go to.
My favorite brewery is Maui Brewing Company.
All right, what is your favorite beer?
Maui Brewing Company's coconut porter.
So good. What is your favorite brewery to visit? So not Maui, but like, is it something with maybe good visual, good?
Wait, what would be? How is Maui Brewing Company not my? How you take that one out of my favorite one to
Because
visit?
you answered it for the first one. That's your problem. You wasted it too early.
Let's see. Favorite one to visit. God. I'm just gonna go with Arizona Wilderness.
All right.
Great
And
brewery.
favorite style to drink?
Oh, let's see. What am I into right now?
I don't know.
Just like session beers, like lagers. You know, just like even hoppy lagers. Just some light stuff where I can keep the conversation going.
All right. Now, you used to do a six-pack challenge on all of your shows with Steve McKenna. I've got a six-pack challenge for you, and the prize is I will take, not from Better on Draft, but from my own pocket, $100 to your wife's pet rescue company.
Wow.
I have 6 questions from the Beer IQ Trivia box.
Wow.
I have cultivated these questions myself to hopes that maybe it'll help you make it easy. So we've got 6 questions. Are you ready?
I am, but I don't know that I wanted you to make it easy. But so what do I have to get? All 6?
All 6. That's the rules. That's what you tell for McKenna.
Come on.
Okay.
Just 3. Damn.
Yeah, right? What a jerk. He doesn't
the
animals.
rules.
Your head is not shaved, therefore.
At least wait, don't tell me does 2 out of 3. Damn, you're going all 6.
Listen, I only do what Zane Lamprey does to Steve McKenna.
Destroy him. Okay. Well, by the way, but the way that I do it with Steve McKenna is that I compete against him.
No, because I listened to your podcast, and your podcast about the drinking made easy on Phoenix. That was just 6 questions to Steve McKenna, and if you got all 6, you would shave your head. See, I pay attention to you, Zane.
The chances of Steve ever getting 6 right were literally impossible.
Well,
okay, I'm down with it.
All right. Question number 1. What German word is used to describe unfiltered wheat beer? All of these are multiple choice, by the way, so if that makes you feel a little bit better. What German word is used to describe unfiltered wheat beer? Nackmal, Hefeweizen, or Reinheitsgebot?
Oh, I get choices? I didn't know I get choices. Oh, fine. Hefeweizen. God.
That's correct.
I didn't think I even needed it.
Number 2. What did President of the United States Jimmy Carter legalize in the country in 1978? Homebrewing, drinking in public, or the right to own beer reserves?
Homebrewing.
That's correct. Number 3, what famous actor who starred in The Princess Bride allegedly drunk 156 beers in a row? Andre the Giant.
Yeah, I was going to do an Andre the Giant impression, but that's fine. Everybody move!
The correct answer is Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant. Number 4, what does a smash beer refer to? To a crushed and unhopped beer? To unique malt and hop? Or to a particularly lean malt beer?
A smash beer. We one of the two. So let's eliminate the Third.
To
That's
a-
gonna be
So part 1, to a crushed and unhopped beer. Part 2, to a unique malt and hop. Or number 3, to a particularly lean malt beer.
1,
2. Say it again.
2.
Correct. To unique malt and hop. Single malt and single hop. That was what Smash stands for. Question number 5.
Okay.
I Love College was the anthem of beer drinkers in 2009. Who sang that song? Mac Miller, Kid Cudi, or Asher Roth?
In 2009?
Yep, I Love College was the anthem of beer drinkers in 2009. Who sang that song? Mac Miller, Kid Cudi, or Asher Roth?
Mac Miller.
You should probably phone a friend.
I'm gonna go with number 3.
Asher Roth.
I would have thought it was 2 Live Crew for sure.
2 Live. No, he's 5 for 5.
2
guys.
Live
5 for
Crew.
5.
Look, Uncle
In
Luke ain't singing
2009.
anything about college, all right?
And
Uncle Luke is
finally-
singing about other stuff, just
And
saying.
finally, number 6. I'll only give you 2 choices on this to help.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, we're already 5 for 5. I want to help you.
We sure are.
You haven't gotten any wrong.
Yep.
Porter takes its name from what city where it originated? Is it London or Warsaw?
Porter.
Porter takes its original name from what city? London or Warsaw?
London.
He's got it, folks. I am $100 poorer. Pumpkin Patch Pet Rescue is about to get $100. Thank you so much, Zane Lamprey. Adventure with the 3 is the first E. You can go find him. So many websites. YouTube. Obviously, you can see so many videos of him between his podcast, between all the podcasts he's been on, and of course all the shows that he's done between 3 Sheets or Have Fork Will Travel. We're sad we're not going to see you here at Michigan this year for your comedy tour, but I know, because you've talked to me, you're going to be here next year, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe go into our studio next year in a live site, and we'll sit down, we'll chat with you, we'll have some beers, and
Done deal.
go. Anything you want to plug before you go?
Your podcast. Listen to it.
Aw.
Watch it.
Aw.
Drink it in. Thank you, guys. This was fantastic. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That's episode
Thank
255 of
you.
the Better on Draft podcast. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's
Better on draft.
Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Peace.